Alright, let's recap. 2008 Chevy Silverado Z71 Complete Nightmare Custom. I mean, it's custom from the nose cone all the way to the tailpipes, man. And I didn't customize it, I bought it that way. It's got every feature except for the complete nav and some weird air ride crap that, thank God, the guy who originally owned it did not do. So, recap. Once again has gone down. I've gone through almost 10 fuel pumps. It's been non-stop. Had a dipstick rust out on me, dropped through the pan. Ran great for about a week or so, and then all of a sudden went out this past Tuesday. And at idle, no oil pressure at all. And the next thing you know, boom, it jumps up to 20, boom, back down to nothing. So, as you notice, my fog lights have been taken out because I'm not paying $30 for a freaking light bulb no more. I'm going to custom make some. So, I'm now down to the source of all of my aggravation. That little fella right there. Little Mr. Oil Pump. Let's see if I can get down here to... Just 4 little bolts. Hold that feller in. Well, once you get inside of the nastiness of the 5.3 Vortex, the vicious beast of a motor that, with the AFM system, it's a piece of crap. Without the AFM system, it's a beast. They will never fail. We had an 02 Suburban. The drain plug ripped off on us one day. About 10 miles. No oil in the engine. It put oil back into her. Boom. Beautiful. But to get to this little fella here, there's a few steps you have to do. Number one, you have to remove transfer case. Number two, this bar that's going directly underneath the oil pan from driver to passenger side, it's only got 4 bolts. This one's going to get cleaned up real good. See? 4 bolts. Then you have to drop, you can't really see it, but your rack and pinion. That way you can see it. I completely removed it and dropped it down because I was not going to sit here and try to re-bleed a rack and pinion. I don't care what people say. I've had bad luck with those. Once you get all that down, you can actually drop the oil pan with some 10mm bolts. Your transfer case is held up by an 18 and a 15. 4 bolts on it, and then you got the 15s for the 12 bolts that hold your half shafts on. This is all 10mm. Be very cautious when you're looking up in there. This would be the passenger side. You have a hidden bolt here. Driver's side, you have a hidden bolt. Where's my hand? Right there. Lighting sucks. And then you also have one here at the back towards the transmission. You have the 2 15s in the transmission, and you got another 10mm hidden here. These two will shatter your oil pan. I know because my 5.7 had the same 2 hidden little hippie bolts in well, oil pans are not fun to replace when you're stuck underneath them like that. See this gunky, nasty mess. I never found the rest of that broken dipstick, so I have a feeling that it got munched up in my oil pump, which is probably why all the metal shavings were there. There's a baffle plate here. It sits in here, similar to that. There's also a baffle plate that goes on the block. It's going from front to back. It's got little slits in it. You shouldn't have to mess with that. And you got a tube, your pickup fill tube, which is probably the original issue we had with the oil pressure. It was probably just the O-ring. But my truck has over 300,000 miles on it now, and I didn't get to the O-ring in time. So that O-ring that on the pickup tube and the dipstick falling down into the oil pan most likely caused this disaster that I'm having now. Which, the AFM system would be okay, I guess, if the truck holds oil pressure, which since I've had her, never once, not one bit of, it's always bounced around. You know, it gets to 40 when I'm doing like 75, 80 mile an hour, but that's it. It doesn't hold pressure other than that. Never has. And your snorkel, you know, you just 2 bolts undone. Some people say it's a pain, but 15 mil, this is the tensioner. The one that's for your normal serpentine belt. I left the AC compressor and the tensioner for it on there. This is the idler. Water pump is also held on by 6. Okay, I'm backwards, but you get the idea. You got 3 on this side, 3 on this side, 10 millimeter bolts, okay? These 2 here were where this bolted on-ish, kind of like that. Or was it here? No, yeah, that bolted here. I don't remember what was bolted onto that, but something was bolted onto there, and I can't remember, but it's all right. I'm just doing a recap for everybody. Alternator, obviously, 15 mil. Thank you, Chevy. The only smart thing you've done with this generation of Chevy is 10 and 15 mils. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever done. I can tear this whole truck apart with a 10, 15, 18, and 22 millimeter. Oh, and a 1 inch. Got to have a 1 inch for the for this little fella. Bam. Now, you'll see when they go to pull the harmonic balancer off, you'll see a lot of people on the internet. They're using these ones that are similar to this, okay? But it's got like a big, long-ass rod, or it threads into it. It would thread in where this threads into in the crank. Don't do that. Do not do that. I've had bad juju with that. Tear the threads up, then you got to replace the crank or try to rethread the crank. It's asinine. Sure, if you had good luck with it and you're expert with it, fine, whatever. But 3-jaw puller. This fancy little gizmo here has been my lifesaver for about 8 years now. So here's how that works. It just sits in where the bolt bolts. See my little hooks? Right there. It's got 3 spots specifically for, if you read the manual, it actually says a 3-jawed puller. It's very simple. But this was the goofy size here. This was the 1 inch one, I think. What is this? No, I'm sorry. This is a 15/16. Try to get a... Well, okay, it won't focus because, I don't know. I don't do this a lot. There it goes. 15/16. Yeah, I use Pittsburgh Harbor Freight a lot. I've never had bad luck with them. Well, my jacks. As you see, my jacks, they get tore up pretty quick. I mean, I use them for stuff they're really not meant to be doing. But anyways, once you get all that off, your timing cover, this little feller here, you got 10 millimeter bolts everywhere. This one here, if you leave your AC compressor on, this is the pain. You need to get a wrench, a 10 millimeter wrench, and it helps. And you got your standards all around. I couldn't get this to pop out. It's a sensor for something. I'm not really too sure, but it's a sensor. But I couldn't get it to slide out. I can get it to move. Get it to move. Uh-oh. Yeah, see, I can get it to move. Just, I couldn't get it to slide out, so just I'll clean it up with it in there. And then your new seal kit should have the new O-ring and everything here. You'll need a valve cover gasket and all that. The new pump, which if you have a 08 and it's the high flow, well, I think they all are really. This is from AutoZone Milling. I do enjoy their oil and fuel pumps, or their oil and internal parts, because they're just, I don't know, they just seem to last a hell of a lot longer. M295. And this is the seal, the O-ring that I was going to replace. That's the part number again, AutoZone. Maybe if I can sit there for a second in case you need to write it down or whatever. But this fancy little kit, it already comes with one. And my workbench looks like hell. Blam. Nice. sexy new. Hear that rattling? It's supposed to do that because it glides. It glides in there. Don't do that too much. Before you put this back on your truck or your van, I don't know, these 5.3s are in all kinds of stuff. Put some oil in here and kind of hand turn it a little bit. Put a little bit of oil down in there. Just a little bit, enough to make it, you know, lubed up a little. Because it's going to go all kinds of goofy on you. When you mount it up, make sure you take your fill tube out, obviously. And it should sit, I believe, like that on your motor. Now, you're going to finger tighten these on the block. Do not torque them down. Just finger tighten them to where they're snugged up a little bit with your hand. So that way you can hand turn your crank and get this will center the whole oil pump up. You see people doing shims and all that for performance. I'm telling you, just hand thread these down tight with your fingers. Just snug them up with your fingers. Okay, and then when you're hand cranking your crank, it will turn this, I don't know what to call it. I'm not going to pretend like I know what to call it. It's going to turn the actual pump, and it's going to center the pump. Do that a few times, and it's going to be fine. And then you'll see, and this is what a lot of people don't do. Down on this side, there's a bolt. It's like it's down there somewhere. You got to get it from the bottom. It's easier. There's a hole that feeds directly back into the oil pump from back here. Okay, it feeds right here somewhere. You want to take a quart of oil and a funnel and a hose. Put the hose in the hole. You're going to shove it in as far as you can. It's probably about a ½ inch or about 1.5 inches. And you're going to dump oil down into that until you see a little bit of oil coming out of the new pump. And then stop and just put the cap back on. You're basically priming them at that point. If you do that, you will have zero issues when you put all of this nonsense back together. It'd be sexy, trust me. And if you had a rattle in the motor, that's probably the oil pump, by the way. Because I had a weird noise coming out the front. Could never pinpoint it. And just by looking at this old guy, he's probably... I mean, I can put my finger on there and I can physically move back and forth on the gear inside there. So, it's bad. That's a recap. Good luck.